means that you either use external weights like the equipment in the gym, or even your own body weight in order to increase muscle mass. And the third pillar, which is flexibility, can be taken care of using yoga or even simple stretches. Endurance is nothing but long duration, low intensity exercise, long walks, and so on. I'd like to stress a little bit about strength training. I've had people tell me it's such a Western concept, but look, we've taken on and embraced several Western concepts which have not necessarily been beneficial. So I think this is one concept that we really need to embrace. And it's not so Western. I do know that ancient Indian, the traditional martial arts do include strength training as part of their routine. So we do need to increase muscle mass because Indians inherently are born with sarcopenia or lower muscle mass. And that is one of the reasons that Indians get diabetes at a younger age, and they have a higher level of mortality at a younger age with the same weight. So most Indians, they may not be obese by Western standards, and many Indians believe that being thin or being in the normal weight range exempts them from diabetes, but that's not true at all. So there is this term called TOFI, or thin on the outside, fat on the inside. So, which is the typical Indian physique or phenotype where there is a lot of intra-abdominal fat. So your waist circumference is rather large, with thin limbs, upper and lower limbs, and very low body muscle mass. So, in order to reverse that, we do need to increase muscle mass. We do need to strength train, either using external weights or using own body weight. But I would recommend, please learn the exercises because chances of injury are high. So please be guided before you start doing that.
Great. So if you have some time in the day, how do you establish a holistic fitness routine? How do you divide your time amongst the four pillars, that you talked of fitness?
Yeah. According to the WHO, 30 minutes, 5 days a week is all that is sufficient, Gautam. I would definitely say we need more than that. I would say at least 40 to 50 minutes, especially for Indians. In that time frame, even 20 minutes of strength training is more than sufficient. 15 to 20 minutes of cardio is sufficient, and the rest of it can include flexibility. Having said that, once you go through the beginner stage and you start getting more advanced in your fitness levels, you can actually combine your cardio and your strength training, which means that you can do the strength training at an intensity where your heart rate is also increased. So lifting faster, lifting heavier, etc. Again, this is only for more advanced fitness, recreational exercise enthusiasts. So about 40 minutes, I would say, 6 days a week would be ideal, and strength training for about 20 to 30 minutes in that 40 minutes.
Great. Thank you. We have seen a series of mental health issues and some leading to suicide in the recent past. How does lifestyle medicine help us deal with those situations?
Yeah, unfortunately, yes. And I think during this lockdown, I don't know if it's part of the fact that we're all locked down and there is a lot of anxiety and fear, as we know, is the highest contagion. I myself personally know two young, very intelligent men who have ended their lives in the past 1 month, and it is a real tragedy. I think anxiety levels are very high. How does lifestyle medicine play a role? Well, all the pillars that Pankaj talked of, the food, the exercise, the addictions, sleep, stress, and relationships are extremely important for mental health as much as for physical health. We know that the gut microbiome plays an important role for mental health to prevent depression, etc. So, what we eat influences our gut microbiome and therefore influences mental health. Exercise produces endorphins, as we all know, improves mood, helps us, puts us in a better frame of mind. Sleep is highly underestimated. Lack of sleep, insomnia, one of the main reasons for depression, even for diabetes. Stress, I mean, coming, like I said, judging from the questions, stress levels are extremely high. So managing stress becomes very, very important. And relationships, in other words, social connectedness, I think is one of the most overlooked aspects of our life. We all need social connections. What I mean by that is, even if we have one or two authentic relationships in our lives, that really takes us far. We don't need hundreds of friends. Social media creates this illusion that we have more than 1,000 friends on Facebook, or however many followers on Instagram. Those are not the authentic relationships that we are seeking. We do need one or two very authentic relationships in our lives. And to the young people out there, I'd also like to say that these authentic cultivated from young age. You really need to nurture them, and you need to treasure the fact that you do have nurturing relationships. So, all of these things which we address in lifestyle medicine are extremely important to prevent the mental problems that we are seeing.
Wonderful. What can we do to inculcate positive lifestyle measures? What are the takeaways for the audience for diet, exercise, sleep, and stress?
Well, yeah, diet, like I already mentioned, reverse the proportions, consume more of the vegetables, and completely eliminate sugar and processed food if you can. Exercise, do include strength training and yoga for flexibility. Cardio for about 20 minutes is all that's sufficient. For stress, I would suggest you have lots of apps on your phone, Amazon, Uber, whatever, what have you. Download a good meditation app, because it's one of the most effective things that you can introduce into your life. Even 10 minutes of meditation twice a day, even while you're sitting in the car or traveling to work, is highly beneficial. Learn breathing techniques, which again help to mitigate stress in those anxious moments. You may not be able to meditate when you are anxious, so you will need to learn breathing techniques. There are several which help during the time of stress. And yeah, manage your stress, inculcate authentic relationships, nurture your precious relationships. Definitely manage your addictions. Alcohol does not help. It may feel like a relaxant, but it works counterintuitively and is not a relaxant. It does produce further addictive behaviors. So does smoking and other addictive substances. Implement these small things. Home cooking. I think we're very fortunate in India that we still practice home cooking, fresh foods. We don't really do we. I mean, we do eat out and we do have several restaurants available, but home cooking is something that I think is of huge benefit to all of us. So, keep the food fresh, know the origin of your food. Don't eat anything that sounds complicated and, is in the back of an ingredient list of a packaged food product, those additives which we can't even recognize. These are a few small things that you can include.
I would add to that, get rid of the screens a couple hours before bedtime. So turn off your laptop, your iPod, your iPad,
Absolutely.
your phone, get away from the television so that you have a bedtime routine to get to bed at a reasonable time, whatever that is, 10, 10:30, 11, because you need the time to wind down and think about taking care of yourself, just like you would nurture a small child, your own baby. You put them to bed, you have a bedtime routine for them. You can't just switch off. You need that downtime of a couple hours to get to that, to add to the sleep. And just for to translate a couple of key points that Sheila mentioned for our Hindi audience, especially अगर आप हम योगा दिवस मना रहे हैं तो सूर्य नमस्कार जो बहुत पुरानी ट्रेडिशन में है, that includes all the components of exercise, strength, flexibility, cardio that Sheila mentioned, and you can do, you can build up to 108 Surya Namaskar, but maybe start with just one, and that's a series of exercises that you can do. Yoga also has some beautiful meditation exercises as well. It's not just about asanas and stretching. Some of my favorite apps are things like Calm, 10% Happier, and Headspace. I'm sure there may be other apps in India that people are using as well.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Vej. Thank you, Dr. Nambiar. Uh, as I said, we have more than 800 questions from the audience, which we'd like to spend time and answer in later segment. If you can stay with us for that duration, but thank you for sharing the fundamentals of medicine. We'll now move to the next segment. And the best way to describe is, as we understand the fundamentals of health, we all know that health is important. But somewhere in our journey, we are not motivated enough to take the next step. This is a great segue for me to bring Mr. Shiv Khera, who needs no introduction. He is an author, educator, business consultant, and a much sought after speaker. He inspires and encourages individuals to realize their true potential. He has taken his dynamic personal message to many parts of the globe. His 40 years of research and understanding has put millions on the path of growth and fulfillment. His book, You Can Win, and some others have sold more than 8 million copies. Tens of thousands of people have benefited from his dynamic workshops globally. Mr. Khera, the stage is all yours to help motivate all of us to see how do we take the next step in terms of our improvisation of health.
Okay. Well, Gautam, thanks a lot. And since morning, I've been logged in, and it is an enriching experience for me to have heard the gentleman, Mr. Upadhyay, for singing, starting out, and Mr. Madan with the laughing thing, and all the doctors right behind. And Aadi has been carrying on the show excellently, sir. I'm grateful to you. Absolutely, I've learned a lot since morning. I'm not an early riser, let me tell you that, but I did rise early today, and I'm glad I did. I have learned a lot. Now, you talked of motivation. See, Gautam, I don't know of any human being who's not motivated. Everybody is motivated, including the lazy bum who wants to do nothing is motivated to do nothing. We are all motivated people one way or the other. The guy who does nothing is motivated to do nothing. So we need to be very clear, what are we doing? Now, we hear a lot of good things all over. Just to share with you a little bit of background of mine, and I heard a lot of people talking about health and stress factor. See, my academics are, I'm a BCom 3rd division, I failed my 10th. That's my academics. And I come from a business family in Dhanbad. We had close to 1,000 people working. The mines got nationalized, the government took over, and we came on the street. Street means street. And I was married just 4 weeks then. And I remember when my daughter was born, I did not have $10 to buy milk that night. I tried my hands on 3 businesses with no money, and I failed in all 3. Finally, I left India, went to US, and initially went to Toronto, started life with a bucket in my hand, washing cars door to door. And gradually got into selling vacuum cleaners. And then I was on the verge of being fired. And then something were turning points. And I'll share with you what were the turning points. And God was kind, moved around to the US, got into 3 businesses. I bought out a company out of California, 1984. Started the New Jersey operation with no clients. I sold my company with close to 500 clients. Now, why do I share this with you? Because while I was struggling, and we're talking of health, and I had a pain in my chest. Now, a friend of mine, very close friend of mine, who put me on to the cardiologist. And the cardiologist gave me all kinds of tests. And after doing all the tests, the doctor, I was sitting without my clothes up here, and the doctor in the white gown, the guy says, Shiv, all tests are negative, which is positive, he says. I said, all right, doc, tell me what's the matter. And he asked me, Shiv, what kind of work do you do? I said, I'm a consultant. He said, no. Anybody who's unemployed is a consultant. He said, tell me, what do you do? I said, I'm an international consultant. He said, you are internationally unemployed. He said, tell me, what do you do? I said, well, I do programs on attitude, leadership, motivation all over the world. Oh, he said, you do that? I said, yeah. And he just hit a little bit at my back. He says, buddy, time to practice some of your own stuff. How do you like that? He says, time to practice some of your own stuff. It's a lot easier to preach than to practice. Now, we talk of body-mind connection and work-life balance. Now, work-life balance, it's all a matter of priorities. It is, two things are crucial. It is all a matter of priorities. Everything is a priority. Now, it is subjective. Work-life balance is subjective. Different people give different priorities to different things. So it is all a matter of priority. हिंदी में कहते हैं इसको प्राथमिकता देना. साहब हम लोग प्राथमिकता अगर नहीं सही पूरे सुबह देंगे तो हम लोग बीमार पड़ जाएंगे कहीं ना कहीं. So आप देखिए एक चीज, the amount of time saving devices we have today, we have never had that many in history. And yet we don't have what? We don't have time. Now, you know why we don't have time? Because somewhere we messed up our priorities. And I'm not preaching here. I'm guilty here. I messed up my priorities many times. And priorities are based on values. I repeat, priorities are based on values. And there is something called right and wrong, which I'll come back to that. And now bottom line is, when we mess up our priorities, we forget to distinguish between what is urgent in life and what's important in life. Now, interestingly, urgent may or may not be important, and important may or may not be urgent. But the funny thing is that whenever we ignore what is important, it always converts into urgent. See, health is important, but it's not urgent. Exercising every day is important, but it's not urgent. But see, if I have a crucial meeting tonight, and if I cannot exercise tonight, it's not the end of the world. But if I ignore my health long enough, guess what happens? I will end up in the hospital. See, the funny thing is, whenever we ignore what is important, it always converts into urgent. In life, relationships are important. You heard Dr. Nambiar just say, your support group is your relationships. Relationships in life are important, but they're not urgent. But if we ignore relationship long enough, guess what happens? You start talking through your lawyers. Now, this is what the whole thing is all about. It is a matter of priority. Health is a matter of priority. Work-life balance is a matter of priority. But when we mess up our priorities, guess what people say? They talk like this. I have no time. I have no time. And then they say, time comes, time goes, time comes, time goes, time comes, time goes. Now, let me ask you, virtually, I'm asking a question, everybody who's listening to this. Folks, how many agree that time comes and time goes? Just raise your hand. Time comes and time goes. Raise your hand. How many agree with that? Okay. Obviously, the two panelists don't. Folks, this is an incorrect statement. Time does not come and go away. Time is eternity. Time is standing still. We come and we go away. We come and we go away. And then when people mess up the priorities, you see, they say time flies. If time flies, then time must be an aeroplane. Well, if time is an aeroplane, then who's the pilot? If we don't have our priorities right, we are passengers. We don't become the pilot anymore. We become passengers in life. And then somebody else is the pilot. तो साहब कोई और पायलट है और पायलट कहता है कि साहब I have good news and I have bad news. And the good news is that the tailwinds are favoring us. We shall reach our destination 1 hour in advance. That is good news. But the bad news is that the navigation system just broke. So we don't know where we're going. But then he says, don't worry, I've got a parachute for you. तो साहब वो आपके पास आते हैं कैबिन में और आपको एक पैराशूट पकड़ा देते हैं और कहते हैं टेक दिस पैराशूट एंड जंप. तो आप वो पैराशूट लेके आप जंप कर जाते हो एंड गेस वेयर यू लैंड. You land up in the middle of a jungle. And it is 9 o'clock at night. It is pitch dark, pitch dark. Now think about it. Jungle has some rules. 10 o'clock, all animals will come out and they'll eat you up. And the only way to get out of this jungle is to run south. Now, in this dark, how do you know where is south? Now, at this time, miraculously, a salesman appears from nowhere. And he says to you, Mr. Gautam Sinha, don't worry. In this jungle, pitch dark, I can sell you a watch. It'll tell you how much time you have left before you get eaten up. And you look at the person and the watch and you say, what good is the watch? But then he says, don't worry, in my other pocket, I also have a compass. Now, folks, it's a no-brainer. You will buy the compass and not the watch. Now, what is the moral of this story? Why would you buy the compass and not the watch? Folks, the moral of the story is very clear. And that is, remember in life, direction is much more important than speed. I repeat, in life, direction is much more important than speed. And when we need to make decisions in life, let the compass be the guide and not the watch. I repeat, when we need to make decisions in life, let the compass be the guide and not the watch. Because if we don't understand that, if we don't have our priorities right, I don't care how much exercise you do and how much well you eat, it's not going to work. Folks, it is crucial. Now, till the lockdown came in, everybody was on the fast lane. Everybody was on the fast lane. Now, we were all running. Where we were going, we didn't know where we were going, but we were going. Now, we never checked, are we going in the right direction? And now what the lockdown has done is literally brought people backwards and said, wait a minute, buddy, stop. Check your priorities in life. And you ask people, why do you go to work? I go to work for my family. Why do you work hard? I work hard for my family. Who are the most important people in your life? My family. Who are the most neglected? Also my family. What a joke. And I'm not preaching here. I'm guilty myself. Many times the most important people get to become the most neglected people too, which is sad. And this is where, when we talk of our health, we need to set up our priorities right. I mean, we can do everything else in this world. If we don't have our priorities right, you can never get rid of stress. The doctors are right here. The doctors are right here. You can never get rid of your stress. How do you do it? You mess up your priorities. And you can eat all the good food you want, but how do you do it? Now, I'll share with you, interestingly, I was under very heavy stress when our minds got nationalized, and I used to wake up with cold sweats at nighttime. I had a family to support, didn't know how to do it. I have 3 major setbacks in my life, and what was my learning? What helped me turn around? Now, I share with you, going back almost 45 years ago, one thing that has helped me, I'm sharing with you one thing that has helped me drastically. And I have faced a lot of difficult situations and adverse situations in my life. And this one little thing has helped me tremendously. Now, folks, about 45 years ago, when I was washing cars in the US, I came across a program by Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, the man who wrote the book Power of Positive Thinking. And there were about 1,000 people, and I was sitting in one of the thousands at that time. And Dr. Peale came, and he looked at the whole 1,000 people. And folks, he looked at everybody and he said, you people are sitting here so calm, relaxed, it appears nobody has a problem here. Then he asked, does anybody have a problem here? And everybody raised their hand. Of course we have problems. Who doesn't have it? Then he said, how many people would like to get rid of the problems? Again, everybody raised their hand. We'd like to get rid of problems. Then Dr. Peale said, on my way here to this congregation, I came across a place 2 blocks away from here where I saw some people lying there stretched out, all relaxed. They had no problem whatsoever. They had no problem whatsoever. And then he asked everybody, how many people would like to get rid of the problem? Again, everybody raised their hand. He said, 2 blocks away from here, there is a cemetery. And there are some people lying there, all stretched out, totally relaxed. They have no problem at all. Then he asked, how many people would like to get rid of the problem? Nobody raised their hand. Everybody put their hand in the pocket. And Dr. Peale said that day, which was so profound, he said, remember, so long as we are alive, we shall have problems. You see, problem is a sign of life. The day we don't have problems, we'd be dead. And he said, when you're running short of problems, that is the time to get on your knees and pray to God. Have you stopped trusting me anymore? Send me some problems. And that day, he gave a prayer, which is called the Serenity Prayer, which some of you might have heard it before. But it is amazing. I will say twice, once in English, once in Hindi. And the prayer, in my opinion, is the crux of life. It is the essence of life. And he said, and probably it wasn't his, somebody gave it 2,000 years ago anyway. And the prayer goes like this. To handle stress and to build health. How do you build health? He said, God grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, and courage to change the things that I can, and wisdom to know the difference, what I can and what I cannot. And that's it. Folks, if you analyze this little prayer and dissect it, this is literally the crux of life, prepares us how to face life. I repeat, it prepares us how to face life. And all that stress and ill health comes because we are not able to face life. Now look at this. God grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change. Now let me ask you, is everything in life within our control? Answer is no. Can we change everything the way we want to? Answer is no. There are many things beyond us, such as, I didn't choose my parents, neither did you. I didn't decide where I was going to be born, and neither did you. If this is my height and this is the color of my skin, there's nothing I can do about it. And granted, sometimes people are born deformed. What wrong did they do? Who knows? And granted, sometimes bad things do happen to good people for no fault of their own. What wrong did they do? Who knows? How did this coronavirus come and how did this pandemic come? I don't know, but it's here. It's here. But it says, what I cannot change, let me accept it graciously, not grudgingly. Because there are many people in life, they keep fighting the things they just cannot change. And they bring stress into their life. And they become paralyzed. And they become unproductive. So it says what? What I cannot change, let me accept it graciously, not grudgingly. And if I can change, then give me the guts to do it. I repeat, if I can change, then give me the guts to do it. And wisdom to know the difference, what I can and what I cannot. Now, you see, when I wrote my book, the latest one, which was launched last year in London, You Can Achieve More. And it says, I took this thought 2 steps forward, which said, life is full of choices and life is full of compromises. Now, let me ask you, having proper food is a choice. Exercising every day is a choice. Is stress also is a choice? Answer is yes. How is it a choice? Life is full of choices and life is full of compromises. Seems like a contradiction, but not really. See, folks, if I ill-treat you, I have chosen to be ill-treated, haven't I? If I treat you with discourtesy, I've chosen to be treated with discourtesy, haven't I? If I light up a cigarette, I've chosen to invite cancer, haven't I? If I drink and drive, I've chosen to invite an accident, haven't I? If I exercise every day, I've chosen to invite good health, haven't I? If I eat too much every day, I've chosen to be obese, haven't I? And if I tell lies, I've chosen to lose my credibility, haven't I? If I tell the truth, I've chosen to become a credible person, haven't I? See, folks, life is full of choices. Now, very important thing is, we are all free to the point of choice. Aadi, we are all free to the point of choice. But after we make our choices, the choice controls the chooser. We have no more choice. Then we face consequences. I repeat, we are all free to the point of choice. But after we make our choices, the choice controls the chooser. We have no more choice. So, folks, what is success? Series of positive choices in life is called success. And series of negative choices in life is called failure. And that's it. Now, how is life full of compromises? As somebody said beautifully, in life, we cannot choose the cards that are dealt to us. What we can choose is how we play the game. And sometimes nature gives us a lemon. The choice is ours. Do we cry or do we make lemonade? That's a choice we have to make. Folks, go check out all success stories in this world. They had major setbacks in life. Folks, who was the greatest legend in martial art? Bruce Lee. You know, most people have heard of this legend, Bruce Lee, how well he did. But how many people right now know that Bruce Lee's one leg was shorter than the other by 1 inch? Folks, 1 mm, 2 mm, 3 mm can disalign a person. His one leg was shorter than other by 1 inch. And 2, Bruce Lee's eyesight was -10. -10. He couldn't see his opponent without. You see, was Bruce Lee an exception? Answer is no. Go check out anybody who's achieved anything in this world. They had setbacks, major setbacks. Look, Michael Phelps, 2 years prior to the Olympics, he fractured his hand. And the doctor said, you cannot get in the water anymore. And even if your hand does get repaired, Question is, will you have the same strength as it happened before? You are competing at the Olympics, not your neighborhood kids. And the Michael Phelps test said to the doctor, he was preparing for this event 10 years ago, for a decade. He told the doctor, I will get into the water. I won't use my hands, I'll use my legs. He continued using his legs. And 2 years later at Beijing, he created history, won 8 gold medals. And one of them is butterfly stroke. And guess what was the distance between him and the person who came second? 1/100th of a second. 100. And it is attributed that when he was practicing with his legs became so strong that is what gave him the push at the last point. But hear this. This is my version. Till now, I'm talking what I read in the newspaper. This is my version. I'm adding my stuff. The journalist was there and the press was there. And one of the journalists said, Mr. Phelps, you won 8 gold medals. Must be your lucky day. Must be your lucky day. And when Michael Phelps heard that one, he didn't like it. He called the journalist and said, you come here, I'll tell you how lucky I got. He said, in the last 4 years, I have trained 10,000 hours. And if you're good at maths, it translates into 2,500 hours per year. And if you're good at calculus, that translates into 8 hours per day, no Sunday. And he said, you go sit in the water for 8 hours every day for the next 4 years, your body will shrivel. And he asked, did I get lucky? Hello? Did I get lucky? And he said, luck is not designed to deliver you these things in life. Remember, luck is not designed to deliver you these things in life. Dr. Widge did not become a medical doctor by taking a weekend program and became a medical doctor. Dr. Nambiar did not become a medical doctor by taking a weekend program. They put 20, 35 years of their life into becoming what they did. Interesting. When he said it was a lucky day, he said, no. He said, you go sit in the water for 8 hours every day for the next 4 years. Your body will shrivel. He said, luck is not designed to deliver you these things in life. Too many crackpots keep waiting for a jackpot. It doesn't work that way. And he said, athletes train 15 years for 15 seconds of performance. Go ask them, did they get lucky? Athletes train 15 years for 15 seconds of performance. Go ask them, did they get lucky? Folks, it's a lot easier to talk than to practice. It is a lot easier. Now, very important thing is that people who are committed to practice, it is the little things that make a huge difference, massive difference. And by the way, and same thing, you talk of this guy, Apple Computer, Steve Jobs. You look at any story in this world, there has been a setback. If you heard Steve Jobs at Stanford, he said, I came to this world unwanted. I came to this world unwanted. The day I was born, I was put up for adoption. Nobody wanted me. You know something, when we read life histories of people like this, Steve Jobs, Michael Phelps, or people like Bruce Lee, you know, it makes us redefine the word success. They all had problems. So success is not absence of problems. It is overcoming problems. Success is not measured by how high we go up in life, but how many times we bounce back when we fall down. That is success. Now, we need to understand there are multiple things that we need to do. And a lot of these things need self-discipline. Self-discipline. Now, I share with people that during this pandemic, during this lockdown period, if we have not come out more upskilled or more knowledgeable or healthier and fitter, it is not because we lack time. I repeat, if during this lockdown period, if we have not come more upskilled or more knowledgeable or healthier and fitter, it is not because we lack time, but because we lack self-commitment and discipline. And that is what it is crucial. And we're talking of mental health. Have you noticed why some people are mentally strong? We need to become mentally strong in order to be physically strong. Folks, how do you build mental strength? Mental strength is built the same way as you build physical strength. Let me ask you, can we go into the gym? Can any one of us go into the gym and pick up a dumbbell of 50 pounds and do 50 reps? No, we'll fall sick. We'll be lying in the bed for 1 week. So you know something, what do? We pick up 5 pounds and do 50 reps. And then we do 10 pounds and 50 reps. And we become a little more stronger and build more muscle. And then we pick 15 pounds and do 50 reps and 100 reps. And gradually we build strength and we become more and more and more, and we become stronger and stronger. That is how you build physical strength. Mental strength is exactly built the same way. Folks, if all of us want to become mentally strong, positive people for the rest of our life, overnight, it will not work. We hit disappointment. Folks, just the way you started with only 5 pounds, tell your mind, I must be a positive person for the next 5 minutes. 5 minutes is a lot easier than a lifetime. It's a lot easier. Then once you're positive, stretch to 10 minutes. Stretch that 10 minutes to 15 minutes. 15 minutes to 25 minutes and 35. And gradually you start building your mental strength. But many times people say positive thoughts are important for good health. Yes, that's true. But he said, well, I can't choose my thoughts. Thoughts that just keep coming. I have no control. That is incorrect. In fact, I was invited by the Cancer Society once to address terminally ill patients. Well, that was a tough one for me. Very tough. How do you tell them to be positive where the doctors have said, pack your bags, you're going upstairs? When all the doctors said, pack your bags, you're going upstairs. And they want me to come and motivate them. How do you tell them to be positive? I came across cases where people have overcome cancer. Lance Armstrong and many others. But then I said, they heard all that stuff before. But how do you choose positive thoughts when the doctor said, pack your bags, you're going upstairs? Interestingly, I learned something from my daughter that day. And she said, she saw me struggling. And she said, Dad, what's the matter? I said, how do you tell people to choose positive thoughts? She said, Dad, sit down. Listen to me carefully. This is how you choose positive thoughts. Now, you are a vegetarian. You go to a restaurant and you order a dish of vegetarian sandwich. And supposing 10 minutes later, the waiter brings you a dish of what? Chicken sandwich. And she asked me, Dad, what would you do? You ordered vegetarian sandwich, but they bring chicken sandwich. What do you do now? You have a choice. Either you will become a non-vegetarian and eat meat, or what do? You call the waiter back and say, I did not order this. Take it back. I will not eat this. And you will put your foot down and say, I will not eat this. Take it back. She said, Dad, exactly the same way you choose positive thoughts in life. Because once in a while, negative thoughts will come. And what do you say? I didn't order this, take this back. Just the way you order sandwiches in restaurants, you order positive thoughts the same way. I did not order this, take it back. Folks, this is the way to do. Many places you hear what to do, how to do. How to do is a big one. We need to condition ourselves mentally. How come there are some people who are mentally strong? Every time they do it right. We need to condition ourselves mentally. I repeat, the whole process starts with mental conditioning. If we are not mentally conditioned, I don't care what you do. You can't even meditate properly. People who have problems, they can't handle the problems. You know what? They're advised by practitioners, take a vacation, you'll find a change. What do? They go to Bahamas and they carry their problems there too. They carry their problems there to vacation also.
Mr. Khera, just doing a time check.
Okay, I'm done. I'm done. I'm so sorry.
Let's take another minute to wrap it up. Yes.
No, I'm wrapped up right now.
Very interesting.
I was just waiting for you to give me a cue, but apologize. I do get carried away sometimes.
No, this was wonderful, and I could enjoy hours listening to this. Thank you for the very enlightening and powerful talk that you did.
Grateful, sir.
Wanted to quickly move to the next segment, which is our eminent panelists. I would like to invite Ms. Neeta Buchra, who is the founder chairperson of FICCI, ladies organization, also known as FICCI Flow, Jaipur, and the only national president of FICCI Flow from Rajasthan. FICCI Flow is the woman wing of the Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry. She is the executive committee member of SARC, Chamber Women Entrepreneur Council, a leading entrepreneur. Neeta is also the chairperson of Silver Center and Lux Scalp, Singapore for India. Welcome, Neeta.
Namaskar, everyone. And thank you so very much, Gautamji, for that wonderful introduction.
Thank you.
A warm hello to all the panelists and good morning and good evening to all the viewers from the different parts of the world. Truly wonderful morning it has been. And we all have enriched the wellness portfolios of our lives. Shiv Kheraji, the eternal optimist and the most amazing motivator. हर बार से मिले तब आप बहुत कुछ सीखते हैं. आज भी हम आप सभी पैनलिस्ट के उद्बोधन से प्राणवन और ऊर्जावान हो गए हैं. शिव खेरा जी, मैं आपसे पूछना चाहूंगी कि हाउ माइंड टू बी पॉजिटिव मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम. नकारात्मक से सकारात्मक कैसे बने रहें, ये मैं जानना चाहूंगी आपसे.
Do I come in now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
ये नीता जी, ये सवाल हमारे से बहुत बारी लोग पूछते हैं कि कई लोग हमारे प्रोग्राम से होके चले जाते हैं और या हमारी किताबें पढ़ते हैं कि साहब उस टाइम थोड़े टाइम के लिए तो देर ऑल चार्ज अप, बट उसके बाद क्या होता है, मोटिवेशन लेवल गिर जाती है. तो मेरा सिर्फ एक ही जवाब है कि जिंदगी में मोटिवेशन इज लाइक फायर. मोटिवेशन इज लाइक फायर. Unless you keep adding fuel to it, it dies.
Wow. Right.
आप एक चीज देखें, लोग कहते हैं कि कितनी दूर तक चलेगा. अब भैया एक बात बताइए, जो खाना हमने कल खाया था कब तक चला भाई? और जो स्नान हमने कल लिया था वो कब तक चला? भैया अगर हम रोज स्नान नहीं लेंगे, जानते हो हमारे जिस्म से बदबू आनी शुरू हो जाती है. Similarly, we need to feed our mind on a daily basis, just like जब एक इंसान एक्सरसाइज करता है उसकी मसल स्ट्रांग हो जाती है. एक्सरसाइज छोड़ दीजिए, मसल फ्लैबी हो जाएंगी. सेम थिंग इज मोटिवेशन. मोटिवेशन इज लाइक फायर. वी नीड टू फीड आवर माइंड ऑन अ डेली बेसिस. आपको छोटी सी एक बात बताता हूं. डेली मैं 2 घंटे, 2.5 घंटे, 3 घंटे कुछ ना कुछ या अच्छी किताब पढ़ता हूं और कोई ना कोई चीज देखता हूं. अगर कैन आई हैव 1 मिनट गौतम, डू आई हैव 1 मिनट?
श्योर सर, ऑफ कोर्स.
मैंने जो हमारी किताब लास्ट ईयर लॉन्च हुई, यू कैन अचीव मोर, उसमें एक सर्वे दिया है मैंने. उसमें दिया है कि 85% ऑफ मिलियनियर्स एंड बिलियनियर्स टुडे आर फर्स्ट जनरेशन. ध्यान दीजिएगा, ओनली 15% आर कमिंग फ्रॉम इनहेरिटेंस. उनसे पूछा गया कि भाई इतने शॉर्ट टाइम में हाउ कुड यू अचीव सो मच फाइनेंशियल सक्सेस? तो उन्होंने जवाब दिया दैट वी रीड बुक्स. वी रीड बुक्स. हाउ मेनी बुक्स? 50 बुक्स अ ईयर. दैट मींस 1 book a week. Warren Buffett reads books. Bill Gates read books. And these multimillionaires who became first generation, 85%, they read 1 book a week. 1 book a week. Now, इसका क्या मतलब हो गया? एंड इनसे ये भी पूछा गया कि कैसी किताब पढ़ते हैं आप? तो इन्होंने कहा कि हम सिर्फ सेल्फ हेल्प बुक्स पढ़ते हैं. हम आई डोंट रीड फिक्शन. फिक्शन इज फिक्शन. सेल्फ हेल्प किताब से हमारे को 1 good idea is worth $1 million. इसका क्या मतलब हुआ नीता जी? इसका मतलब ये हुआ, imagine multimillionaires and billionaires read one book a week. That means there is a tremendous connection between learning and earning, and learning and earning, and learning and earning, and learning and earning. तो इसमें क्या होता है, फायदा क्या है कि आप देखें एक अच्छी किताब आपको, it gives you wisdom of ages in a capsule form, or you don't have to reinvent the wheel, and it prevents you from a lot of pitfalls. बहुत गलतियां से बचाता है आपको अच्छी किताब अगर मिल जाए। और एक अच्छा पढ़ने वाला किताब जो है जिंदगी में कभी किताब को बोरो नहीं करेगा और ना ही लैंड करेगा। कई बार मेरे पास लोग आते हैं, कहते हैं कि साहब बहुत अच्छी किताब है, मैं आपको लैंड कर देता हूं। मैंने कहा भैया लैंड मत कीजिए, आप मुझे गिफ्ट कर दीजिए, सेल कर दीजिए, गिव इट टू मी, बट डोंट लेंड इट टू मी बिकॉज आई विल नॉट गिव इट बैक टू यू। बिकॉज मैंने एक चीज सीखी है जिंदगी में, when I read a book, I always underline, highlight, mark, and make notes. Why? Because I learned one, that reading a good book once is not good enough. You know why? Because when we read a good book the second time, we don't find anything new in the book, but we find something new in ourselves. नीता जी ध्यान से दीजिए, हम जब अब एक अच्छी किताब दोबारा पढ़ते हैं, we don't find anything new in the book, but we find something new in yourself, and that is the key. And इसलिए मेरा यही आपसे कहना है कि this is something ongoing, and to feed our mind daily to stay on track. Otherwise, everybody slips back. Even people like me, I slip back. I read my own book also. I pick it up.
I think we shall all definitely achieve more. I shall definitely achieve more because I'm going to prioritize and get hold of that book on my Kindle right now. So thank you so much. Dr. Sheila, you are the passionate woman for women's wellness, you know, and it was so wonderful. आपने इतनी शालीनता से अपना पूरा उद्बोधन दिया, उसमें इतना कुछ हम सभी के लिए था। आपका बहुत बहुत साधुवाद, धन्यवाद. I wish to ask you that we women are all born managers. We are always juggling our roles, whatever the role we have to play in life. All of us are doing it, whether we admit it or not. Men are also doing it. Hello. But women do it more. Sheila, Dr. Sheila, do you agree to this one?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, you know, I wish to know what tips can we have for women's wellness in an integrated manner. Their physical health, their mental wellness, and emotional happiness to lead a stress-free life.
Neeta, I think Dr. Mr. Shivkera has already mentioned, how important it is to be self-disciplined and so on. It actually boils down to just that, prioritization and self-discipline, which means prioritizing ourselves as well.
Absolutely.
It's all very well to look after the family and that's our role and that's our duty. But I think self-care is extremely important, even if it means just taking a few minutes off from your hectic schedule to breathe, to take in the sunlight. All these little things really matter. And then to nurture our friendships, nurture ourselves, eat well. By that I mean eat healthy, not eat a lot. These things are extremely important. And they're little things. They don't need to be big things. So, yeah.
So, and I loved your nurture your relationships. I loved that one. And thank you so very much to everyone for this wonderful opportunity. Over to you, Gautam sir.
Thank you, Ms. Buchra. Thank you, Mr. Khera, and thank you, Dr. Nambia, for the excellent question and answers. I would like to now invite another eminent panelist who has made the country proud multiple times. This is General C.P. Singh, who has been part of our services and has been a cancer conqueror 3 times. After spending 36 years of meritorious service in Indian Army and almost 3 years in Amity University in Rajasthan, he is now mentoring young students to select a career with a vision. 3 times cancer survivor, the veteran is a fitness enthusiast cycling 12 kilometer and walking 6 kilometer every day, along with golf and other sports. General Singh, can we have your question, please? Yes.
Thank you. I am so privileged and honored to be part of this eminent panel and joining with the elite people here on this channel. Before, he mentioned about the cancer. So, as Shiv Kheraji had said that we invite problems. I'm sorry, sir, I did not invite it. I did not do anything which, invites cancer, smoking, drinking, vegetarian food, and, all sorts of things. But it came like a terrorist come into our country uninvited. And I had 3 encounters with them, every time coming out winner. So probably the cancer would have also thought it had made a wrong choice of the target. That's it. The poem which you were mentioning, sir, God give us the serenity to change the world. It has been modified by a soldier like me. If I can just take 30 seconds to narrate. God give me 2 cups of tea in the morning to change the world that I can during the day. And give me 2 packs of rum in the evening to accept what I could not change during the day and go to sleep. Thank you, sir. Now coming to my question. During these pandemic times, the work from home has changed the equations. The balance between the work and life. You may be having a family dinner somewhere and then call comes, come online for a conference. So you leave everything and get onto the work mode. Or you may be in a conference or sitting on a laptop doing something very important and the wife says, I think he's wasting time, you go to the shop and doodh leke aao jara bahar se. So the work and life balance is becoming very precarious, and I would say the pandemic is in Hindi, sabki vaat laga diye. So sir, in simple terms, how do you maintain the work-life balance when the lines are getting a little blurred? Or in simple words, how to keep the boss and the BV both happy at the same time?
एंड शिव सर, इसके साथ मैं ये जोड़ना चाहूंगा क्योंकि एक हमारे व्यूअर ने ये पूछा है आपसे कि अगर अभी शिव जी 20 साल के होते, 20 इयर्स, वो अपनी लाइफ को देख रहे होते एक बिल्कुल आगे की, तो वो इस कोविड पीरियड के अंदर क्या करते? और जो सीपी सर ने बोला कि जो वर्क लाइफ बैलेंस है उसको बैलेंस करके अगर आप एक आंसर देते सर।
आदि, आपने अक्सर सुना होगा दैट एडवर्सिटी बिल्ड्स कैरेक्टर। ये आपने सुना है कि नहीं?
बिल्कुल सर।
पिताजी, सुना आपने? Adversity builds character. How many agree that this is true? This statement is true? Raise your hand. Okay, my answer, it's incorrect. This statement is not true. Let me explain to you what it means. देखिए, adversity reveals more character than it builds. I repeat, adversity reveals more character than it builds. जैसे जनरल साहब ने कहा है साहब कि बार बार मेरे को कैंसर आया. You see, he was trying me, and every time the cancer lost, and I won. See what it is. Now, just like an athlete does not prepare at the time of competition. He reveals his preparation at the time of competition. सब competition के time prepare थोड़ी करते हो आप. Similarly, character building does not take place at the time of adversity. Character keeps building all your life. And when adversity comes, if you have character, you can overcome adversity. If you don't have character, the adversity will overcome you. Now, ये मैं क्यों कह रहा हूं? इस वजह से आप देखें, people who are emotionally strong, they are coming out much stronger out of this crisis. आप देखें, जिन लोगों के परिवारों में हस्बैंड वाइफ में जिनकी अच्छी रिलेशनशिप है, they are becoming stronger. There was a survey conducted and people on the deathbed were asked कि भैया अगर आपके पास 2 घंटे एक्स्ट्रा रोज मिल जाए, आज के 24 घंटे होते हैं, अगर 26 घंटे हो जाए तो 2 घंटे एक्स्ट्रा के साथ क्या करोगे? हर एक आदमी कहता है साहब, I will spend the extra 2 hours with my family. अरे भाई, आप तब बोल रहे थे मरने के टाइम कि I would spend more time with my family. अब टाइम है तो स्पेंड करो. And you know something, the interesting part is people who are emotionally strong, they are bonding much better. Their husband, wife, family, their life is becoming much stronger. And people who are emotionally weak, they are fighting. WHO came up with a report that domestic violence has gone up by 50%. Isliye, adversity does not build character. Adversity reveals more character than it builds. So iski tayari bachpan se hoti hai. That is where our upbringing, everything counts. And not only that, medical doctors say that people who are positive thinkers, their recoveries from surgery are much faster. There is a body-mind connection all over. When we are stressed out, when we are feeling negative, our immunity goes down, chances of catching a viral are much greater. और मदान साहब ने, sorry, Mr. Kataria ने सुबह सुबह इतना बढ़िया program शुरू किया. Laughter. There is a wonderful book written by Dr. Norman Cousin, Anatomy of an Illness. I repeat, Anatomy. मैं सबसे recommend करूँगा Anatomy of an Illness by Dr. Norman Cousin. He was declared terminally ill at the age of 35. How he cured with laughter. And then he has been written up in the New England Journal of Medicine, the only non-medical doctor, Gautam, only non-medical doctor who has been given a seat at the UCLA Medical Center as a faculty. And he died only in the mid-75 when he was declared terminally ill at 35. So there is a lot to be learned. The body-mind connection is so huge, it's massive. And there are so many medical doctors like Dr. Bernie Siegel and Dr. Lisa Rankins. So many people have done so much work. It's amazing.
Thank you, sir. And I sincerely hope and wish, and I'm certain that after this session, all our guests will be having come out with better character, better emotional bonding within the family, and will certainly tide over this adversity which has come in life of all the citizens at present. Thank you very much.
Thank you, General Singh, and thank you for the wish. Your wish, may your wish come true for all of us. I would like to now move to another eminent panelist, Mr. Mahavir Pratap Sharma. He is chairman, Thai Global Board of Trustees. Mr. Sharma is a serial entrepreneur, is part of umpteen businesses and social organizations, and exudes angel investing, leadership, and mentoring. He is also the president of Thai India Angels and RAIN, which is the Rajasthan Angels, founder and owner of various businesses and associations in India. Mr. Sharma, if we can have you ask the next question.
Your voice is not audible.
Mr. Sharma, we can't hear you.
Yeah. The voice is not audible. The technical team can check it.
Technical, it's okay. Technical is fine.
So your voice is not audible, Sharma sir. So you could leave the meeting and then again rejoin, and meanwhile we can take another panelist. Gautam sir.
Sure. Sorry for the inconvenience. We'll quickly invite our next eminent panelist, Mr. Neeraj Sharan. He is a BIT alumni as well, senior to me. He is CEO of Aura Inc., founder chairman since 1989. He is one of the visionaries who had the vision to start a company way back before startup became a word. Since 89, he is leading a global enterprise catering to the global energy sector through engineering, manufacturing, and systems integration. He is president of Bitosa, NCR, also member, Technical Expert Committee, Government of India, under Department of Science and Technology since June 2009. Mr. Sharan.
Thank you, Gautam. Thank you for having me here. It's been a great Sunday morning. You get up in the morning on a Sunday with a cup of coffee, and what enriched discussions we are having. So can I take 2 minutes and I'll put all my thoughts in here? So I've got my 2 minutes, and
Please.
I'll talk about 3 takeaways that I learned today morning. I've got many takeaways, but I'll focus on just 3. I've got 2 thoughts that I want to share, and I have 2 questions that I have for the panelists. Anyone can answer, Shiv Kheraji or Sheila Nambiar or Dr. Pankaj, anyone. On the takeaway, I like the concept of Dr. Pankaj when he started to talk about the food, feet, fingers, stress, love. It really brings and captures the 360 perspective of what we are doing on a mental wellness being perspective. It's really, really, I have taken that, I remember it now. Sheila Nambiar, I love the way you said we need to look at our plate before we eat something. We've gone a wrong way, that we have cereals and we've got less colors, and unfortunately, my worry sometimes goes more to vegetarians when we overcook at high temperature, and we eat less vegetables and more cereals. So I think it's a great reminder for us to look at our plates and look at the color on the plate, as you said, and understand what we are eating, because that's going to work on our health. Shiv Kheraji, the lesser I have takeaways from you, the better. We're going to meet again on Monday on Horasis. Many takeaways, but वो जो आपका एक वक्त का जो रियाज की बात थी ना, that you prepare 30 years before you perform, right? A musician prepares for 30 years and then he recites. And आपने जो time का वो एक notion दिया था, that time is not passing, we are passing, probably. Try and listen to a poetry by Javed Akhtar, and his poetry is about waqt. It's a beautiful nazm, and it captures this sense that हम कहते हैं वक्त गुजर रहा है, कि ऐसा तो नहीं कि वो अपनी जगह टूट खड़ा और हम ही गुजर रहे हैं. So this notion of time, this notion of compass versus speed, direction, I think many of us falter. That, we wish for something, we work hard, we get it, and they said, oh my God, I don't think I wanted this in life. So we need to be very careful what we are doing. So that's the takeaway. Again, 30 seconds on the 2 thoughts I have. We all go for a health checkup every year or every 2 years. And that's okay. It's a good thing we are starting to do. But there are 2 taboos in Indian society. One was on sex and one was on mental wellness. I don't know how many of us have ever gone to say, yaar, jaise hum kara rahe hain health checkup, ek apni mental audit wellness kara lo, counselor, psychosomatic, because this upstairs thing is knotted. And we need help. And society, if you tell a friend, I went for counseling, he says, what's your problem in life? If you tell him I went to a cardiologist, he has no question. I tell that he cannot an issue. So we need to break this taboo. And how do we bring this into our life so that parents and children both are open to going for this audit? And the fallacy, I think, in my thought is कि लोग happiness की बात करते हैं, and we say, I think happiness is a very transient state. The more deeper sense we get is more about faith, the more about belief and courage and things like that. One, Gautam, with your permission, 2 lines of shairi that captures the essence of all we are talking here, which is wellness, life, balance. Ki zamir zinda rakh. That is the conscious. Zamir zinda rakh, kabir zinda rakh. Sultan bhi agar ban jaye, to fakir zinda rakh. अगर हम इसको फॉलो करें तो हमारी लाइफ में बहुत सी बैलेंसेस आ जाती हैं. So thank you for that. 2 questions anyone can answer. Shiva, you, Sheila Nambiar, or Dr. Pankaj. If you could define the top 2 or 3 emotional challenges that India has in regard to gender and age both. Maybe there are differences that we need to bring out. And how do we mitigate, and what interventions can we do? Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure being with you guys here. I'm here. And anyone can take the question, whoever.
I'll just answer part of that. I work with women. I'm a gynecologist by profession. So, as far as women go, I know anxiety and depression are probably the highest ranking mental problems, primarily because of the multitasking that Neetaji was talking about. We expect so much of ourselves, especially if we are working as well as housewives. And I won't say especially, particularly if we are working as well as trying to manage home. The homemakers have a different challenge altogether. So I think the one, again, prioritization is essential. One of the things that I would like to mention, especially with women, is that we are essentially the nutritional gatekeepers of our family. And since nutrition is so important for mental health, including depression, anxiety, etc., eating the right kind of food is very important, which means cooking the right kind of food is very important. So, again, fresh vegetables, fresh fruit, all of that is very important. And understanding that yes, we are in a pandemic and there is a lot of anxiety. The fire is fueled by the media, etc. Try and keep perspective and try and just focus on what we can control and what we can't. And some of the things we can control is our own behavior and our own response. We can't control the pandemic or how fast the vaccine comes, etc.
Thank
So,
you.
as women.
Could I just add something to that? Do we
Sure.
have time?
Sure.
Would we have time?
Yes, sir.
You see, I think Mr. Sharan brought up a good point on the emotional health, emotional strength part. You look at in India, probably 5-6 million people apply for the IITs and the exams they clear, and maybe only 1,000 or 2,000 people are taken in. That means these are the IITians are the cream of society, means their IQs are phenomenal, amazing. And guess which group has one of the highest suicide rate? Also the IITians. Look at this, how sad. The tremendous IQs, but the EQs are missing, the emotional strength is missing. And that is sad. Now, I just want to make one point, and whatever my study has led me to believe so far, pretty much all over the world, 5,000% of challenges and problems or emotional disturbances come because of low self-esteem or inferiority complex. Another word, and to build emotional strength, we need to have high self-esteem. Now, what is self-esteem? Self-esteem is the way we feel about ourselves, which is our self-worth. We feel about ourselves. When we feel good, the world looks nice, productivity goes up, and relationships are a lot better, aren't they? And the reverse is just as true. And Neeraj, self-esteem is inversely related to egos. Have you seen people with the egos like a know-it-all? What do? They talk down to people, don't they? They put down others, don't they? And every decision they make is more to satisfy ego than makes sense. Now think about it. Why does a human being put down another human being? It is sadistic but true. There are some people in this world who feel good when the other person feels bad, which means they don't want to lift themselves up, but they want to pull others down. Now, how can they have emotional strength, such people? How can they build good relationships? It'll never work like that. You see, people who are emotionally unstable, you can't trust them. They don't trust themselves either. See, they have mood swings and so on. So what is the driving force to high self-esteem? Only one thing. 30 seconds. Are you there?
Yes, sir. We understand.
Okay, 30 seconds. You see, what is the driving force to high self-esteem? It is self-acceptance. Self-acceptance says, I accept myself the way I am with my pluses and minuses. I'm not perfect. I realize that. It says, I am not perfect. I make mistakes. I made mistakes. I apologize for my mistakes. I seek forgiveness for my mistakes. I'm not proud of my mistakes. I learned from my mistakes. I will not repeat my mistakes. but I am not a mistake. I am not a mistake. I have been created by God. I accept my pluses and minuses. Now, that doesn't mean complacence, that is arrogance. This is totally the epitome of humility, which says, I accept myself. And this was demonstrated by Charlie Chaplin beautifully. Once Charlie Chaplin was going through Europe, he saw a big hoarding Charlie Chaplin lookalike contest. And he decided to participate. And guess what? He lost. And he started thinking that I'm the only one who knows who the real Charlie Chaplin is. The real one loses and the fake one wins. Then he started thinking, should I tell them who am I? Because I'm the real one anyway. I'm the only one who knows who the real one is. But then he started thinking, why do I need to tell them? Do I have to prove anything to anybody? I know my true identity. I have to prove nothing to anybody. And he said, I am at peace with myself. He walked away. This is emotional strength. I have to prove nothing to anyone. This is not arrogance. It says, I understand who I am. I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. I made mistakes. I learned from them. I seek forgiveness. I will not repeat them, but I am not a mistake. We need to accept ourselves as a creation of God with our pluses and minuses and keep improving. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mahavirji is also with us.
Great. Mr. Sharma, yes. Hi. If we can have your question. Oh, can't hear you again.
I'm afraid, sir.
Sharma sir, not audible. If you switch off your earphones, you can just put on
without earphone if you can talk, sir.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes. We can hear you now.
Perfect.
Maybe the headphones are gone.
Yes.
So that shows, that leads me to my question, but I would like to thank for such an enriching session, starting from Ravindra all the way to always a pleasure to listen to Mr. Khera, always enlightening, always very energetic conversation, great topics discussed and revealed by both the doctors. So my question is for Dr. Pankaj Vij. And Pankaj, you'd mentioned the screen time 2 hours before and switching that off. What has happened in this pandemic is that all of us are working from home. Kids are taking online classes sitting at home. And with additional social media communications and commitments, a span for a daily screen time has gone way beyond what it should be. And I think everyone says, reduce it, try it, and we all understand we have to, and right before sleeping especially. I just want to understand it. Is there some, something on the brain, the eyes, that we need to know more medically and technically so that we can explain, and like the kids don't understand, just reduce this or don't do that. They need to understand logic. Can we get something more, why you said that, and why is it very important that we should all reduce the screen time?
Absolutely. And it's really funny. I was trying to get away from my screen. It's 10:12 p.m. here now, and I had stepped away, gone for a walk outside, and I got a call from Nitin saying, hey, the next question is for you. You need to get back to your screen. So here I am. To answer your question, Mahavirji, absolutely. In fact, if you look at the Nobel Prize in Physiology and Medicine this past year was for body clock mechanism. And the gist of it is that we have a body clock, and that is governed by the diurnal cycle, the circadian rhythm. Circa means a circle, and dien stands for day. The word day comes from Latin word dien. And we are in sync with the cycles of the sun. So when the sun comes up, our body detects the light through the eyes into the optic nerve. There's a little gland called the pineal gland that acts as the body clock. And when it's daytime, it's light. Over millions of years of evolution, we have evolved to know that that is the time when we should be awake and alert and active. And when the sun sets, when it's dark outside, the eyes aren't getting natural light. And therefore, the optic nerve through the optic chiasm talks to the pineal gland and communicates to all the rest of the body that this is darkness, is nighttime. It's a time for rest and relaxation and rejuvenation. with artificial lighting, with all these lights that we have all around us coming from the screen, we are disturbing that natural cycle. So we need to be very vigilant and aware of that we should try to stay in sync with the diurnal rhythm, with the rhythm of the sun. Rising, we rise. When it starts to get dark outside, we start the wind down routine, which would mean shutting off the screens at a reasonable time when it's getting dark outside, not staying up and watching television till midnight or binging on Netflix and eating ice cream, which many of us have done, especially in this pandemic time. So that would be the scientific reason, is that we are very much in sync with the day and light cycle outside, with the sunrise and the sunset. And we should try to sync up with that as much as we can.
Okay, so basically it's the natural rhythm that we have to sync up with. What happens with people when they have to work night shifts, or is that okay in that case, or is it harmful still?
Well, it's very, very unhealthy. Actually, if you look at the research, there's a strong correlation with night shift work and transatlantic travel, and leading to metabolic disturbances and disease. In a world that we are expected to be on for 24 hours, if you're working as an air traffic controller or a pilot or a doctor who's on duty at night, there is definitely a correlation with poor health outcomes in these populations, which means it's even more critical for those people to artificially create nighttime conditions in the day when it is time for them to sleep, to tell their body, hey, this is, and it's not ideal, but having thick blinds, having a quiet place, having that undisturbed time of rest. When everybody else is awake and alert, you still need that period of rest if you're doing shift work. But ideally, we should try to stay in sync with the cycles of the sun as much as possible.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Bobby.
I'm done.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Sharma. Excellent question. Thank you, Dr. Vij. My next eminent panelist, last but not the least, is Mr. Uttam Bose. He is Group CEO of CK Birla Hospitals. Mr. Bose has a long professional journey in manufacturing and healthcare excellence. He is an expert of operation and value addition to products and services through innovation. Since 2012, he is associated with CK Birla Group. Formerly, he worked as Managing Director and CEO of Hindustan Motors, the iconic ambassador car manufacturer, and now Group CEO of CK Birla Hospitals in India. Welcome, Mr. Bose.
Hi. Good morning to Indian friends and good evening to the US friends. Oh, what an event day or morning it was. The morning started with a wish from my son on the Father's Day. Then I received a spat from a yoga teacher for not attending the yoga session today on the Yoga International Day. And not to forget the solar eclipse, which is on at present in India. And not the least, but the last, the event which we are attending today. I mean, I must thank the organizers, Mr. Naren Bakshi, Gautam Sinha, Nitin, and all of them who have organized such a nice event for us. It was absolutely enriching today. And the takeaways which I have, there are basically two takeaways which I would discuss over here. First takeaway was from Mr. Shiv Khera in understanding or redefining success. Till now, in the management school, the bookish definition was success is the predetermined achievement of predetermined goals at an individual level. But today, Mr. Shiv Khera made me understand that success is overcoming problems. In fact, it is indeed, the life is full of battles, and winning small battles is the success, not just a big war. You can't just win a big war and be success. Successful people do win small battles, and that makes them achiever at the end of the day. Thanks, Mr. Shivkara. And the second takeaway was from Dr. Pankaj Veej. Basically, I could understand that what is the relevance of wellness for a healthcare service provider to the larger society. In fact, we at CK Birla Hospitals were trying to transform from curative medicine, which is very much prevalent in India, and we, the service providers, healthcare service providers, are basically involved into curative treatment of diseases. But what we are transforming or what we are trying to reach now is the preventive medicine, right? If the wellness and if the discipline is maintained in an individual level, then it automatically takes us to the direction of the wellness. And that is what we are propagating at CK Birla Hospital. I have just one question for Mr. Shivkara. If fear is a state of mind, it will be important to know what matters most, the fear of death or the fear of financial and social instability.
Okay. You see, I hear many religious speeches saying, which they keep talking of life after death, life after death. What we are talking is life before death. We need to understand how to live. So the most important thing is, look, fear is natural and normal. I repeat, fear is both natural and normal. It happens to all of us. Just like stress is both natural and normal. And we can't deny it or we cannot avoid it. All we can do is handle it. We only can handle. And many times the fear of failure or fear of death can be worse than death itself. I repeat, see, fear of death can be worse than death itself. Similarly, fear of failure can be worse than failure itself. So many times this kind of a fear literally paralyzes us. And fear is not absence of courage. It is, I'm saying courage is not absence of fear. It is overcoming fear. So we need to overcome the fear. And how do you overcome fear? It doesn't have to happen overnight. Just like our bodies build muscles gradually, you need to do a little act of courage to overcome fear. And your courage goes up slightly more. And you do a little bit more, and the next time you overcome something more. And just like, I just want to make a comparison here. The champion athlete, many times their morale is low. But a good coach will never put a champion when his morale is low against a star fighter. They give him a very weak fighter. And the champion beats the weak fighter. And his self-esteem goes up, morale goes up. Then they give a slightly stronger fighter, and then the morale goes up. And then you bring a slightly stronger fighter, and their morale goes up. And they keep building this guy up. Remember, the champion's morale also goes low sometimes in life. And this is how a good coach builds the champion's morale up, by giving a weak fighter and pin him down till a day comes, he says, I'm ready, get your tiger. So that is the only way. There is no other way. It is practice, mental toughness, overcoming fear, and nothing else.
Thank you.
It's a process. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Tab. That was an excellent question. We now come to the end of this segment. I'll quickly like to summarize what I have learned, and I came here to learn today from all the panelists that we have here. No, I think my takeaway personally is lifestyle medicine is a holistic approach to your health and wellness. We have all learned in bits and pieces about diets or about exercise, but sleep or friendship or emotional health being is as important as the other two, is something which is very valuable to learn. And I would like to share that with everyone here as well as a key takeaway. If you actually look at the exercise itself, I think what Dr. Nambiar said, within the exercise, it's not just the cardio, but you have to also focus on strength and mass building, muscle mass building, and give that as much importance as your cardio exercises or your walks. That is important for all of us to understand. As you try to move towards lifestyle medicine, which is not just holistic, it's also evidence-based. The most significant advantage of lifestyle medicine is that it has only positive side effects. And if you heard our panelists today, it is actually very zero cost or very negligible cost to the GDP. So it's beneficial for the pockets, for the individual pockets, as well as beneficial for the nation at a larger level. Today, the amount of GDP that goes in healthcare is about 1.37%. If we all do preventive maintenance of our body, soul, and mind, I think there is a significant amount of impact it will have on our pockets as well as on the government budgets from that. Mr. Shivkhera has given us a lot of takeaways today. I certainly learned a lot. Thank you, all the panelists, for that. I think my takeaway, which I'm trying to summarize, is life is about learning. You gave the example of books. All successful people try to learn. I've generally used the example of you have to learn, you also have to unlearn, and then relearn, which I've found to be a good practice. There's a lot of time what we learn and we believe that's the truth. We tend to, as we move forward in our maturity, we realize that we might have learned something wrong. So we tend to unlearn that and tend to relearn just to move to the newer aspects of thought process. Motivation, how to power and fuel the motivation is essential. The notion of compass and the vector in prioritizing how our life is, what's important for us in terms of and what's urgent for us, having that differentiation makes a lot of things easier for us to tackle in our day-to-day life. With that, I would like to close this segment with my personal thanks for all the knowledge that has been shared by the panelists. And I'll now ask Mr. Aadi to come and do the rest of the program.
थैंक यू सो मच एवरीवन. मैं आपका तहे दिल से शुक्रगुजार हूँ सबका. बहुत सारी बातें हम लोगों ने सुनी और दोस्तों हम आपको जो भी हमें सुन रहे हैं आपसे गुजारिश है कि शब्द वहीं खड़े रह जाते हैं. शब्द का आपको मूव नहीं कराते. कई बार ऐसा भी होता है कि लोग 20-20 साल तक शब्द सुनते रहते हैं पर वो एक्शन नहीं लेते हैं. अब ये जो टाइम है ये एक्शन का टाइम है. जो भी आपने सुना ये रिकॉर्डेड है, ये अवेलेबल रहेगा हमारे YouTube चैनल पे. आप इसको वापस सुन सकते हैं. पॉइंट्स भी आपने नोट किए होंगे, इसको अपनी जिंदगी में लगाइए. सीरीज ऑफ क्वेश्चंस हमारे पास हैं पर समय हमारे को गुजारिश कर रहा है कि जैसे पंकज सर भी कह रहे हैं कि 3 आवर्स होने वाले हैं, हम वाइट स्क्रीन के सामने हैं तो हमारे को ब्रेक लेने की बहुत आवश्यकता है. पर ये तो सिर्फ आगाज है. मैं आपको फिर कहूंगा पहला सुख का पहला वेबिनार है ये. ऐसे ही प्रोग्राम हम आपके लिए लगातार लेके आते रहेंगे और यूं ही मुस्कुराते रहिए. और जो भी आपने सवाल पूछा है उसमें हमने सिलेक्शन किया है. मैं और गौतम सर कोशिश करेंगे कि हमारे जितने भी पैनलिस्ट हैं उनसे अगर 1-on-1 हम बात कर पाएं और कुछ हम रिकॉर्डेड कुछ कर पाएं तो हम लोग उन सारे क्वेश्चंस को एड्रेस करके उन आंसर्स को आप तक जरूर पहुंचाने का प्रयास करेंगे. मैं बहुत दिल से धन्यवाद देना चाहूंगा गौतम सर का, शिव सर का, पंकज सर का, नीता मैम का, नीता बुचरा जी का, नीरज सर का, सीपी सिंह सर का, महावीर सर का और उत्तम सर का. आप सब लोग यहाँ आए सर. ये सोशल इनिशिएटिव में आपने बिना किसी कुछ पाने की उम्मीद रखे आपने सिर्फ देने का एक भाव रखा और आपने अपना इतना कीमती वक्त और वो भी इतने लंबे अंतराल तक हम लोगों के लिए निकाला. हम तहे दिल से पूरी टीम की तरफ से मैं शुक्रगुजार हूँ आप सभी का. आपको सबको जानना होगा दोस्तों कि ये जो भी प्रोग्राम हम लोग ऑर्गेनाइज करते हैं ये इतना आसान नहीं है। इसके पीछे एक टीम काम करती है जो रात दिन मेहनत करती है। जैसे कि आप अपने स्क्रीन पे देख पा रहे हैं, ये हमारी ऑर्गेनाइजिंग टीम है। नरेन बख्शी सर के बारे में मैंने आपको बताया, चीफ मेंटर हैं हमारे पहले सुख के। मिसेस प्रेमलता सांझी, मिस्टर बसंत जैन, मिस्टर सोमनाथ चैटर्जी जो को फाउंडर भी हैं CWC ICC वेलनेस के, और विंग कमांडर VK कल्ला जी। हम उनसे बात नहीं कर पाए पर वो पूरी देर हमारे साथ बने रहे थे प्रोग्राम के ऑर्गेनाइजिंग के दौरान। मैं तो हुई आदि, जितेंद्र गौतम टेक्निकली पूरा वो देख रहे थे। थैंक यू सो मच जितेंद्र, थैंक यू सो मच नितिन एंड दिव्या। आप लोग ऐसे इनविजिबल सपोर्ट है जो अभी शायद हमारे व्यूअर्स आपको नहीं देख पाए हैं, पर ये जो कुछ भी पॉसिबल हुआ है आप लोगों के मेहनत की वजह से हुआ है। वी आर सो थैंकफुल टू ऑल ऑफ यू, सो थैंकफुल टू ऑल ऑफ यू। हम लोग अपने कम्युनिटी पार्टनर का नाम लेकर इस प्रोग्राम को कंक्लूड करना चाहेंगे। बिटोसा जयपुर ज्वेलरी एसोसिएशन जयपुर, बिटोसा कोलकाता, बिटोसा गुजरात। बिटोसा का मतलब है बिरला इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी ओल्ड स्टूडेंट एसोसिएशन, जो बिटोसा का फुल फॉर्म नहीं जानते। SKIT कॉलेज ने हमें सपोर्ट किया, जयपुर क्रिएटिव कम्यून ने, रोटरी क्लब हमारे साथ जुड़े रहे, और भारतीय दिगंबर जैन जो महासभा है उनसे भी हमें सपोर्ट मिला। लाइव शिक्षा LLP, हमारे आउटरीच पार्टनर जो इतनी अच्छी हमारी कवरेज, रात में ही हमारे को पता चला 12 बजे जब ये दिन की शुरुआत हुई आज के, कि इतनी अच्छी कवरेज हमारे को मिली है, जन जन तक इस वेबिनार के बारे में इंफॉर्मेशन पहुंची है। मैं आपसे वापस कहूंगा कि कोई भी टेक्निकल ग्लिच आया है, हमारी जो टीम है वो इस पूरे वीडियो को एडिट करके प्रॉपर्ली हमारे चैनल्स पर इसको फ्री ऑफ कॉस्ट अवेलेबल कराएगी। आप इसको देख सकते हैं, लोगों के साथ इसको साझा कर सकते हैं। हमारे सबका एक ही मकसद है, जितने भी लोग इस प्रोग्राम से जुड़े हुए हैं, एक ही मकसद है कि बेस्ट से बेस्ट इंफॉर्मेशन बहुत ही स्वीट और सिंपल तरीके से आप तक पहुंचाई जाए। आपको उन चीजों को अपनी जिंदगी में लगाना है दोस्तों। हमारा यही एम है कि आपकी जिंदगी में कोई सकारात्मक बदलाव आए, और अगर थोड़ा भी बदलाव हम आपके जिंदगी में ला पाए तो हम अपने आप को, अपने प्रोग्राम को सार्थक समझेंगे दोस्तों। हमारे वर्चुअल इवेंट पार्टनर रहे होस्ट वर्चुअल, उनके लिए बहुत धन्यवाद। और वेलनेस पार्टनर CK बिरला हॉस्पिटल्स रहे, सर को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। कॉर्पोरेट पार्टनर्स में KP ऑटोमोटिव, प्रथम सॉफ्टवेयर्स, डेटा इन्फोसिस, और NGO पार्टनर्स में उड़ान और रक्षा। तो आप सभी को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद वापस से। मैं अपने चीफ मेंटर नरेन बख्शी सर को बुलाना चाहूंगा, वो 30 सेकंड के एक छोटे से नोट के साथ इस कार्यक्रम को समाप्ति की ओर ले जाएंगे। धन्यवाद, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। नरेन सर।
भाइयों, आपने ऑलरेडी सुन लिया है आदि से, बहुत लोगों को जिन्होंने काम किया है उनको ने धन्यवाद दिया है, लेकिन मेरे को आके एक बार और बोलना पड़ेगा आपको, क्योंकि बहुत सारे लोग जो आज साथ हैं वो सिर्फ मेरे ट्रस्ट पे आए हैं। उनको नहीं मालूम था कि हम लोग क्या करेंगे, कितना करेंगे, कैसा करेंगे, लेकिन ट्रस्ट से काम होता है। तो मैंने उन लोगों को इसलिए बोला कि एक बार तो आई है, हमारी कोशिश है, हमको चांस दीजिए। अब उसमें सबसे पहले मैं नहीं भूलना चाहता कि आज इतनी डिफिकल्ट सिचुएशन में राजीव जी किसी भी ढंग से हमारे चीफ मिनिस्टर साहब के पास पहुंचा पाए, और चीफ मिनिस्टर साहब ने ऐसे टाइम पे हमको एक मैसेज दिया, और वो भी सिर्फ ट्रस्ट से। वो मेरे को जानते हैं, थैंक यू, और वो प्रेमलता सांड जी को भी जानते हैं। तो देखते ही सिर्फ ट्रस्ट से ये काम किया है, इसके लिए मैं बहुत बहुत आभारी हूँ आप सबका, जिन्होंने सिर्फ मेरे ट्रस्ट पे आए हैं। अब आखिरी बात, ये पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंस की बता रहा हूँ। प्लीज, आपने बहुत कुछ सुना प्रायोरिटीज के बारे में। अब कोई टेस्ट करें अपन, अपनी प्रायोरिटी सही है कि नहीं, उसका एक पक्का टेस्ट बता रहा हूँ आपको, बहुत सिंपल। देखिए, यदि आप अपने आप को अच्छा ह्यूमन बीइंग नहीं मानते, खुद ही नहीं मानते, तो फिर तो वो तो चालू करना ही पड़ेगा, अच्छा ह्यूमन बीइंग तो बनना ही पड़ेगा। लेकिन उसके बाद एक और टेस्ट है। जिस दिन आप अपनी वाइफ को, अपने दोस्तों को, अपने बिजनेस को ये कह सको कि मैं सब कुछ करने को तैयार हूँ, लेकिन अपनी हेल्थ को,
नहीं कंप्रोमाइज करूंगा लॉन्ग टाइम के लिए। तो ये सबसे बड़ा टेस्ट है कि पहले याद रखिए सब कुछ रुक सकता है, लेकिन आपकी यदि हेल्थ नहीं है, आप अपनी वाइफ को भी नहीं कह सकते, तो फिर काम नहीं होगा। और पैसा वगैरह सब है, लेकिन आफ्टर फैमिली। ये मैं आपका निवेदन है। थैंक यू, थैंक यू, थैंक यू टू एवरीबडी एंड कांग्रेचुलेशंस टू यंग टीम फ्रॉम हियर एंड सिलिकॉन वैली। उन्होंने ही काम किया है और वही काम करेंगे, लेकिन प्रेरणा आप सबकी रहेगी। थैंक यू अगेन।
Thank you, Mr. Bakshi.
I just want to
Thank you,
thank
everyone.
Naren Bakshi ji, and especially for taking the initiative to set up this entire thing, and also Dr. Vij and Mr. Som Chatterjee, of course, all the panelists, but the special thanks goes to Mr. Bakshi and Dr. Vij, and along with Mr. Chatterjee to take this initiative. It's amazing, absolutely amazing. And all I can say is, Bakshiji, that you are the leader, and if you can consider me as a soldier, I will be volunteering to be a soldier for this mission that you have taken, and God bless you. You can count me as part of your team. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much आप सभी को। बिल्कुल नीता मैम,
मतलब एक बात ही बोलना चाहूंगी कि गजब की रिलेशनशिप बिल्डिंग हुई है आज हम सभी की। आई थिंक आपने कहा था कि कुछ पाया नहीं, मैंने कहा नहीं, बहुत कुछ पाया है हमने आज। गजब की रिलेशनशिप बिल्डिंग हुई है, क्योंकि जो प्राप्त है वही पर्याप्त है, और सभी को उन्होंने वंडरफुल गिफ्ट ऑफ देयर टाइम, व्हिच इज बीन मोस्ट वंडरफुल। सो थैंक यू सो वेरी मच टू एवरीवन।
और आपकी आवाज में जो एनर्जी है मैम, वो हमारे को बहुत एनर्जाइज करता है।
सो आदि, अब आप अपनी अपील भी करिए, जो सब हैं जो अपने से जुड़ना चाहें, वो कैसे अपने से जुड़ेंगे, आप बताइए।
बिल्कुल, ये तो मैंने कहा है सर कि ये प्रोग्राम हमारा स्टार्टिंग है। हम देख रहे हैं कि बहुत सारे लोग इंडिविजुअली काम करते हैं, और बहुत ही अच्छा है इंडिविजुअली हम काम करते रहे। ये एक सोशल इनिशिएटिव है, ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस में हम फंसना नहीं चाहते हैं। हम शुरुआत से इस पे बात कर रहे हैं। हम लोग फॉर्मेलिटीज में नहीं फंसना चाहते हैं। हम सही बात, सीधी बात लोगों तक पहुंचाना चाहते हैं, और ना केवल वो बात पहुंचाए, हम फॉलो अप लेकर ये भी देखते रहना चाहते हैं कि लोगों की जिंदगियों में वो बदलाव आ पा रहे हैं या नहीं आ पा रहे हैं। इसके पीछे बहुत सारे वॉलंटियर्स काम कर रहे हैं, जो लगातार कुछ फॉलो अप लेकर उस इंफॉर्मेशन को भी हमारे साथ साझा करते रहते हैं, जो हम पैनलिस्ट के साथ साझा करेंगे। आप में से जो कोई भी हमारी संस्था के साथ जुड़े रहना चाहते हैं, जैसे कि शिव सर ने इतने हम्बल, इतने ह्यूमिलिटी से बोला कि वो भी एक सोल्जर के तौर पे हमारे साथ खड़े रहना चाहते हैं, और बख्शी सर के लीडरशिप के अंदर, तो आप में से जो भी इंटरेस्टेड हैं, तो हम लोग लगातार इस तरीके के अलग अलग वेबिनार, सेमिनार्स, प्रोग्राम्स करवाते रहेंगे। आप लोगों की अगर सर्विसेज हमें मिली, तो इससे बड़ी प्रिविलेज की बात, इससे बड़ी प्लेजर की बात और क्या हो सकती है दोस्तों। तो बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद वापस से।
आपको नेक्स्ट डेट अनाउंस करनी है, नेक्स्ट डेट।
हाँ बिल्कुल, मैं आप ही जो भी व्यूअर्स हमें सुन पा रहे हैं, हम आप ही से पूछेंगे कि हमारा हर महीने एक वेबिनार कराने का प्लान है। दो चीजें हमारे दिमाग में बहुत रहती है, एक तो मेंटल हेल्थ। आप बताइए कि हम मेंटल हेल्थ पे कौन से टॉपिक ले सकते हैं, बिहेवियरल स्किल्स पे कौन से टॉपिक ले सकते हैं, हम उनको लेकर आप तक पहुंचेंगे। और भी कोई टॉपिक आपके दिमाग में है वेलनेस से रिलेटेड, आप हमें बताते रहिए। और बेस्ट से बेस्ट पैनलिस्ट, बेस्ट से बेस्ट पर्सनालिटीज को व्यूअर्स के पास लेके आने का जिम्मेदारी हम लोगों की रहेगी। और आशा करते हैं आप सभी हमसे यूं ही जुड़े रहेंगे, प्रश्न पूछते रहेंगे और अपने विचार रखते रहेंगे।
जुलाई 19
बिल्कुल, जुलाई 19 अगर डेट है सर, तो दैट्स इट। और हमारा पोस्टर रिलीज हो जाएगा, आप pehlasukh.org पर विजिट करते रहें, और हमारा यूट्यूब चैनल जरूर सब्सक्राइब करा लें, उसमें हम इंफॉर्मेशन आप लोगों को देते रहेंगे। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। गौतम सर।
Great. Thank you everyone once again for participating. With this, we'll close the event for today, and with thank you.